Good afternoon from a dull and cold UK. Very envious of my guest today, Geoffrey A. Cole. I have his apologies if I go back and forth because I have his biography, extensive biography here to my left. Geoffrey Cole from Miami, Florida. So the
Born and
sun
raised in
does
Miami.
does the sun always shine in Miami?
Pretty much.
Okay,
We have
nice.
a lot of sunshine every year, and it's
Okay,
really a beautiful place to live.
right.
Very
Well,
born and raised, so it's my hometown.
lovely, lovely. Well, I'm kind of I only know Miami from the TV and from news, and
Oh,
I'm a big fan of Dexter.
oh
I
my.
don't know if you've seen Dexter.
Yeah, certainly, certainly.
Yeah, I don't know how true to like because obviously it's all dramatized for the purposes of
Yeah,
TV, but anyway, we're not here to talk about um I do know his
my.
name, Jeff something, who wrote the Dexter series. Lindsay, I think his name is, who
Oh,
writes the Dexter series. Anyway, we're here to talk about you and your
yes.
book. That yeah, we see the poster behind you, the screen behind you. But yes, let's see your cover. How to live anxiety free. I would love to. I'm not. I try to think that I'm not particularly anxious. I am now because I was 4 minutes late for this chat. But I kind of say that I don't have children. We have a dog and two cats. So I try to be fairly even keel. Um, so tell us about your background and how you got to write this book, because we always start at where you started.
Well, I started on the path to write this book by suffering, and I spent quite a bit of time in trauma. I spent pretty much 20 years of just ongoing trauma and suffered from 7 years of depression, as
Mm,
well as addiction issues and anxiety and panic attacks and sleep
mm,
issues. I was really struggling for quite a while.
wow.
And I went through the channels that you go through to try to get help, and then I even
Mm,
went into the alternative channels to try to get help. And
right.
I was really not able to get the help I needed, and
Mm,
so I struck out to heal myself. And once I did that, in 2007, I embarked on a path that really hasn't been followed by many people in the world, which
mm,
is the integration at the very base level of neuropsychology or talk therapy, CBT,
mm,
psychology with neuroscience. And I've integrated neuroscience with psychology.
mm.
And those are two siloed fields, so they're not very prone to work together on things.
Okay, because
And
we do hear it in the news and so on. We do hear a lot about CBT, especially. Do you think it's we know more now than obviously technology and medicines and life? We find out more as time goes on. Um, do you think if you started now, there would be more help for you now?
yes, I think there is more help now.
Mm,
However, I have my system, the name of my company is Supermind,
mm,
and our Supermind program, we track everything with objective data. And that you can't really find in the area of mental health. All
mm,
the data, all the information, all the outcomes are all subjective.
mm,
And subjective data, as far as validity is concerned, isn't high on the validity scale. And
right.
so that was one of my first things that after I healed myself and I began to help heal others, that was my first task, was to be able to use the brain-computer interface
Mm,
to create objective analysis of mental states.
mm.
And I haven't found a system as successful as the one I built.
Right.
Uh,
It's really interesting your background to this because you're my 43rd, 44th author that we've been chatting, but I've chatted to 700 or so on my blog over the years. Back in the day when everything was two-dimensional and it was just all on screen, on
wow.
the page effectively.
Yeah.
Um, and there seem to be two schools of how people came to writing is that either they did a lot of reading and thought, well, I can do better than this,
Mm.
or and this is a lot in case a lot of for non-fiction is that they were trying to find the book that they wanted to read, or that they were trying to get the information that they needed, and it just wasn't out there, so they created it, which is exactly what you've done.
Yes, yes. And I have done quite a bit of reading. I'm not sure that I can do better than a lot of those people that have written amazing books. And my book is great. I'm really happy with the
Mm.
results, and I've gotten people who've called me up crying at
Wow.
how much it helped them. And it's
Mm.
just, it really touches my heart.
Yeah.
And, I really wrote the book because I knew that it was important for me to get this information out to the world. And this is
Mm.
just one of the ways I do that is with this
Mm.
book, and I am writing more books.
Mm.
The Supermind blog as well. I also post a lot on Instagram, and I'm getting the message out. I was at a speaking engagement last night, and I'm continuing to start my speaking career, and really
Mm.
getting this very, very important information
Mm.
of looking at mental performance, health, mental well-being
Mm.
from a neurological perspective,
Mm.
because neuroplasticity is a part of our lives every day, and unfortunately, we haven't learned how to be in charge of it.
Mm.
And I think that we should have learned how to be in charge of this in first grade.
Yeah.
It is that
Yeah.
simple.
I
We learn how to read,
yeah.
write, and run
Right.
ourselves and our systems,
Yeah.
and we, be able to live much happier
Mm.
with less anxiety in our lives.
Well, I think leaving school, because it's been quite a while since I left school, but I think it's a shock to the system to realise
Yes.
that how you. I think the basics, we should be given the basics. We have cookery classes, but how you run a house, and I think people are more open these
Yeah.
days to realising that they need help, and that reaching out. So I don't know. How long have you been running your company?
So I've been doing the treatment since 2007. I've had more than
Okay.
3,000 patients, and so I
Wow.
have had quite a lot of experience.
Mm.
And I've included their stories, some of their stories, not all 3,000, in the book.
Mm.
And the tools and techniques and the practices that have been proven through their lives and my life
Mm.
to be able to live a life without anxiety. Unfortunately, so many of us believe that anxiety is just part of living.
Mm.
And I'm here to say it's not. It's time for us to be able to live. And really, the core bottom hack on this is to live from love instead of fear.
Mm.
And a big part of that is to transcend the original human design. And
Mm.
when we were living in the wilderness, that fear-based mentality kept us alive. However, in the developed world, we don't really have lions, tigers, and bears so
No,
much.
but we do.
And go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that we do sweat the small stuff, don't we? As the saying goes, we worry about. I don't know whether this is part of your course, but we do worry about. I think you see the news and how tough other people's lives are, and it should make us feel so lucky at what we have. We have four walls around us, and we're able to do up to a point whatever we like within our means. Um, and so,
That is
but
a
I
big
think,
that's a big part of my teaching is
yeah.
that in the developed world, our nervous system doesn't know the difference between lions, tigers, and bears,
Mm.
and our physical survival and safety, and emails and our identification safety. Because
Mm.
we have internal identities. I'm a business guy, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm, helping people or not helping people. And when I read an email that my system thinks it's important for me to pay attention to the survival of my identities.
Mm.
And the reality is, I don't want my nervous system involved with that, and my unconscious. I want my conscious very involved. And
Mm.
so I don't need to have my blood pressure go up and down because of a computer. It
Yeah.
has no threat to my body at all,
Yeah.
except for my perceptions. And
Yeah.
thank goodness we can be in charge of that. And we can also be in charge of conditioning our automatic responses and reactions.
Mm,
And that's a big core of the book and the teachings
mm,
is how to understand that and how to implement that in your life.
mm. Well, I've sort of learned over the last month to cut down on the things that it's. I went to a networking event this morning, and I'm not. I couldn't sell snow to ice to Eskimos. I'm sort of the world's worst salesperson, which when you're self-published is not a great feature. Um, but I've sort of learned that I need to put myself in a non-narcissistic, egotistical way to put myself first more often and the quality of life because I am always on my laptop. Even when I say that the only time I sit and do nothing is when I'm at the cinema, but I'm still analysing characters and looking at plots and thinking, well, he's just opened a door and put something in, so that's going to come up later. And my
Right.
brain is literally always whirring. Um, so I'm sure there are people who come to you and it must be very difficult for to sort of say take a step back and it's still going to be there tomorrow.
Well, when you start to do what you're doing for love of the game
Mm,
rather than the fear of missing out, you actually get better at it. And the activities you do may not change that much. However, when you're doing it with love energy, it's expansive.
mm,
And when you're doing it from fear energy, it's constricting. And the fear energy makes it harder to sustain.
mm.
And I love what you said. It's so important to take care of ourselves first
Yeah.
and to condition our nervous system to be love-based, because that way we're going to be able to serve more, serve longer, serve people from love instead of fear.
Mm, mm,
And it's just an important feature, which again is covered in my book.
mm.
So I'm glad you brought it up.
If somebody said to you, give me one, I don't know whether this is possible, and I haven't asked you this in advance, but I'm sure you've been asked it before. If somebody, it's a bit like saying, if somebody says to me, what is my tip for writing? I kind of have two, so I'm going to cheat. First is showing, not telling. So in fiction, it's have as much from the character as possible, and have them rather than say Andy was angry, have him slam the fist on the table and shout "get out." So you're showing the reader that he's angry. And also my favorite statistic is 300 words a day is 109,500 words a year. So if you wanted to write a book that was about, I mean, generally they're 80, 90,000, but if you started writing a book today, you could have it finished this time next year. And so those are my two. So that was a lead up, giving you a few seconds to be able to answer this, but I'm sure you have the answer already. If somebody said to me, give me one tip, do you have a tip? Sort of your gold, platinum, titanium tip?
Know what you want to say and come from the heart. And I like what you said about showing.
Mhm.
So my style is a little bit different in that I explain and then I show.
Okay.
And so I give the background. A part of that is that a lot of what I'm writing about isn't widely accepted yet, and a
Right.
lot of people, think anxiety is necessary. So
Mm,
I wanted to really give them enough information to be able to think it through fully,
mm,
because we do have a choice,
mm,
and I want to help people make the right choice. And I love what you were saying about the 300 words a day. Uh, if you can schedule it, be intentional about scheduling the time to write and
mm.
do that as often as you can. Once, twice, three times a week is great.
Yeah.
Once a
Yeah.
day would be even better. And that's what helped me get through the book was
Mm,
to, write and then, read it, write again, read it, write
mm,
again. And
mm.
I
So tell
really
us once,
enjoyed.
did you have help? Because obviously this is from your personal experience, and this is a method that's helped you. When you've finished your first draft, second draft, whatever it ended up being, did you have someone to help you structure it in a certain way? And tell us how you got published, please.
So I wrote a manuscript and I kept rewriting it, keep writing it, and then I hired a publisher. And the publisher kind of got frustrated with me continually rewriting the book because I kept saying, "Well,
Right.
that's not the right version. I have a new
Yeah.
version."
Yes.
And
That's the trouble with nonfiction. Think you update.
yes,
Yes. Yeah.
and I wanted it to be as because I'm publishing this to the world, right? I want this to be as perfect.
Yeah.
And finally, my publisher was like, "It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get
Mm.
it out there. The information is amazing." And your delivery, if it's not perfect, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I had to move from I got to be perfect to it's
Right.
got to be good enough.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
a big, big help for me. I
Yeah.
did end up hiring an editor
Mhm.
to reorganize the order of the delivery of the message
Mm.
and to put it into chapters. And so that was a big
Right.
help. My
Right.
publisher, Bootstrap Publishing, Miriam,
Mm.
is amazing. She's
Yeah.
such a
I've
supportive.
always heard such good things. Yes, I've not met her. Obviously, we know each other from these sessions, but they're really good things. So to finish off, do tell us what you're working on. You say you've got other books planned.
Yes, I am working on a follow-up book to this book, which is the
Mhm.
21 Day Guide to
Okay.
be able to live anxiety free. It's kind of like a 21 day challenge that
Mhm.
gives you a building lesson plan day by day for 21 days. And at the same time, you're reconditioning your nervous system, which takes about 21 days.
Right.
So it's a 21 day guide. That's my next book. And then I'm also just started, I put the chapters together for another book that is called well, it's really planned for families to be able to have a discussion guide for the parents to pass on wisdom to the children in a fun way over dinner.
Mm.
And the name of the
Nice.
book is Proverbs for Dinner. And
Okay.
yes, it's taken from the Bible as well as
Mm.
it is, let's be
Mm.
proverbal and
Right.
communicate.
Ah,
And
right.
so it's Proverbs for Dinner, and it's so I'll have that out in the middle or the end of next year. So
Okay. Well, you're looking very well. And very, this is the first time I don't know how you were before we met because we've literally just met, but you're
yeah,
looking very happy and very well. I'm sure living in the sunshine state helps. With
yes,
sunshine around you certainly helps. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I know you have another appointment
yes.
in momentarily, so it's been a pleasure. I'm very grateful for your time. I know how busy you are, so I'm very grateful. And I'll put your biography together with this. And your website, obviously, together with this chat, and hopefully speak to you again next year when
I
your
look
next
forward to
book,
that. Yeah,
yes, when
thank
your
you,
next
Morgan.
book comes out, and every time you have a new book out, we can you can update us, and hopefully we'll have an audience you can who can quiz you
I love it.
on your techniques. Now, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful
Okay,
day, and I'll be
Geoffrey
in
Cole.
touch soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks very much. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.